The WTA handed her an award with one hand and a silent insult with the other. They celebrated her moments, dismissed her legacy, then watched her sign the contract that changed everything. One evening, 2 trophies, 0 respect from the very institution built to protect her. And by midnight, when that sponsorship announcement detonated across every phone screen on the planet, every executive who'd underestimated her felt it, deeply, personally, irreversibly. This is the story of a night that divided the tennis world, a night nobody inside the WTA wants to discuss, and a night Alex Eala will remember, not with bitterness, but with the quiet, devastating satisfaction of a woman who let her results do the screaming. Stay until the very last second, because the ending rewrites everything you thought you knew about power in women's tennis. Before the controversy, before the ceremony, before the contract that shook boardrooms from Manila to Monaco, there was a teenager from the Philippines standing on the practice courts of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, hitting ground strokes into the sweltering Spanish afternoon with nobody watching. No cameras, no brands chasing, no WTA spotlights warming her face. Just a racket, a ball, and a ferocity that didn't yet have a name most people could pronounce. Alex Eala was always extraordinary, the kind of athlete coaches talk about in hushed tones, the kind of competitor whose hunger fills a room before she speaks a single word. By the time she claimed her first Grand Slam junior title at the 2022 U.S. Open, becoming the first ever Filipina to lift that trophy, anyone paying attention understood. This wasn't a prodigy, this was a phenomenon. A 17-year-old who stood on the most famous court in American tennis, opened her mouth and addressed the entire world in Tagalog, her native tongue. Not English, not Spanish, Tagalog. A deliberate, emotional, magnificent choice that reduced her countrymen to tears halfway around the globe. And yet, despite that victory, despite the junior doubles Grand Slams she'd collected at the 2019 Australian Open and 2021 French Open, despite training alongside some of the greatest minds in the sport, the WTA's official machinery treated her ascent as a curiosity rather than a revolution. The rankings told one truth, the institutional enthusiasm told another. She began 2025 ranked at number 140. 140! And then she received a wild card into the Miami Open, an invitation that, looking back, the tennis establishment probably handed her expecting nothing remarkable. A promising kid, a compelling story, a first-round exit, maybe 2, before the real contenders took center stage. What happened next shattered every projection, every seeding, every quiet assumption made by every person who hadn't done their homework on Alex Eala. She eliminated Jelena Ostapenko, then Madison Keys, ranked number 5, then Iga Swiatek, ranked number 2 in the entire world. 3 consecutive Grand Slam champions, taken down in straight sets, by a wild card, by a 19-year-old from Manila, by someone ranked 140th on the planet just weeks before. She became the first wildcard in WTA history to defeat 3 major champions in straight sets at a single event. Think about that figure. Not the first this decade, not the first in a generation, the first ever. The Philippines erupted. Filipino communities worldwide stayed awake through impossible time zones, gathered around phone screens and laptop speakers, screaming into their living rooms. Commentators began likening her influence to Manny Pacquiao. Sports journalist Diane Castillo noted that supporters already treated her as if she had claimed a Grand Slam. She hadn't, not yet, but the emotion was real, and it was earned. And through all of it, Eala remained composed, focused, unshaken. She spoke about gratitude and hunger in the same breath, as if one inevitably fueled the other. In an exclusive interview, she said, "I'm just so lucky to have been able to make it this far this year. Basically, this far in general is great, and it just leaves me hungrier." Hungrier. That single word was a warning, one the WTA failed to fully register. December 2025. The WTA Awards. Tennis's annual evening of celebration, designed, theoretically, to honor the players who defined the year. The room gleams, the cameras position themselves, the speeches are drafted, and Alex Eala arrives carrying a season that statistics alone cannot contain. Let's establish the magnitude of what she brought into that room. She won 2 WTA Fan-Voted Moments of the Year awards, one in the WTA 1000 category for her historic Miami semifinal, one in the WTA 250 category for her breathtaking tie-break battle with Maya Joint at Eastbourne. 2 separate categories, 2 separate victories, both decided by the fans, millions of people around the world who voted with their hearts for the moments that moved them most in an entire calendar year of professional tennis. 2 awards from the audience, 0 awards from the institution. The international media jury selected Belinda Bencic as Comeback Player of the Year, Victoria Mboko as Newcomer of the Year, Amanda Anisimova as Most Improved Player, and Aryna Sabalenka as Player of the Year. Now, pause. Sit with that. Most Improved Player of the Year, awarded to someone else, while Alex Eala had climbed from number 140 to a career high of number 50 in the span of a single season, while she had become the first Filipino ever to crack the WTA Top 100, while she had beaten the world number 2, the world number 5, 3 consecutive Grand Slam champions in one tournament, as a wild card. What does most improved mean if not that? The whispers started before the applause faded. Filipino journalists covering the event exchanged glances. Social media, always faster and more honest than official press releases, began boiling. Tennis fans who'd spent entire nights awake watching Eala dismantle Swiatek in Miami couldn't reconcile what they were seeing on their screens. The WTA's internal jury had drawn a line, and it had drawn it just beside the name everyone else in the world was saying. Eala accepted both fan-voted awards with characteristic grace. She smiled. She thanked the supporters. She spoke about the season with humility, with warmth, with the quiet dignity of someone who understood, even then, that the evening was not finished delivering its surprises.
Step back from the drama. Step back from the social media noise and the partisan commentary and the competing narratives. Look at what this sequence of events genuinely exposes about the current state of women's tennis and about the gap between institutional power and cultural power in professional sport. Alex Eala did not manufacture controversy. She did not position herself for a headline. She played tennis. She played extraordinary tennis. She dismantled the world number 2 in front of a global audience that had no prior framework for a Filipino woman doing what she was doing in that moment. She moved through 2025, leaving behind a trail of firsts that no other player on the circuit could claim, not because she engineered them strategically, but because she simply hadn't existed in a sport that hadn't yet made space for someone exactly like her. Analysts have compared her impact on expanding tennis to figures like Li Na and Ons Jabeur, 2 players whose cultural significance extended far beyond their ranking or their trophy count, 2 players who dragged entire nations into a sport that had never considered them central to its audience. That comparison is not hyperbole. It's pattern recognition. Li Na didn't just win Roland Garros. She unlocked China's relationship with professional tennis. Ons Jabeur didn't just reach Grand Slam finals. She reframed what Arab women were understood to be capable of in elite sport. And Alex Eala, whether the WTA's jury understood it or not, is performing a function that transcends her current ranking, her current title count, her current prize money. She strengthened her connection with supporters by addressing crowds in Tagalog, and her rise sparked new interest in tennis, both in the Philippines and among Filipino communities worldwide. Fans attending her matches in large numbers, while many others follow from home despite impossible time zone differences. The WTA, as an institution, exists to develop exactly this kind of player, this kind of story, this kind of expansion. The irony, and it is a sharp, uncomfortable irony, is that on the night it celebrated its own year, it underweighted the player who'd done more for its global reach than perhaps any other athlete in the field. The sponsorship deal didn't just reward Eala commercially, it corrected, in the most public possible way, an institutional miscalculation. It said, the market sees what the jury missed, and the market is never late. Eala herself, looking toward the future, said, "These great results and great experiences have given me so much motivation. I am looking to finish the year strong." That statement was made before the awards night. After it, the motivation could only have deepened. This story isn't finished. That's the most important thing to understand before you close this chapter. Alex Eala is 20 years old. 20. She has already accomplished what generations of Filipino athletes were told was structurally impossible, not because the talent wasn't there, but because the infrastructure, the access, and the institutional recognition weren't built to accommodate them. She broke through anyway. Not gently, not quietly, with a forehand that erased Swiatek in Miami and a tiebreak that had Eastbourne holding its breath at 10-all. Her year-end ranking for 2025 stood at a career high of number 50. She became the first Filipino to break into the WTA 100, the first to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal, the first to win a WTA 125 title. 4 unprecedented achievements in a single calendar year, and still the jury's ballot didn't carry her name in its most significant categories. But here is what the awards ceremony actually proved, perhaps unintentionally. Just beat the world number 2 on live television. That is the real award, the one no jury assembles to vote on, the one that accrues not in a ceremony ballroom, but in the imaginations of the next generation, deciding whether to pick up a racket. So here's the question worth sitting with, the one that deserves your reply in the comments below. If the institution underestimates you and the market corrects them the same night, who actually holds the power? What happened that December night tells us everything about the gap between what institutions celebrate and what the world actually values. Alex Eala walked into a ceremony, accepted the awards the fans chose for her, watched the jury choose someone else for the rest, and walked out with a commercial deal that rendered the distinction irrelevant. She didn't need the WTA's validation. She already had something rarer, a generation's belief. The firsts don't stop, the hunger doesn't quiet, and the next chapter, it hasn't been written yet. If this story moved you, if you felt that gap between deserving and receiving, between effort and recognition, then this channel is your home. We tell the stories women's tennis doesn't always headline itself. Hit subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and never miss the moment the narrative shifts, because in Alex Eala's story, it shifts fast.